Let's go ahead and highlight the rankings beginning at number 12, and I'm going to call them the Baylor Bears again because of their pathetic play down the stretch. If you remember the last matchups episode, I just called them the school from Waco, but I give them some respect because they played better this time against Texas Tech, even though they lost the game. Second straight year, by the way, that Baylor has played Texas Tech tough, yet they fall in defeat. Baylor had led at halftime of the game, but Texas Tech did come back and win the game in the second half. But still, Baylor played better. It's one of those seasons where Baylor's going to be thinking, what if Robert Griffin, their all-everything quarterback, hadn't gotten hurt so early in the season with that ACL injury. 14 years in the Big 12, though, for Baylor, and 14 bowl-less years for the Bears. At number 11, the Kansas Jayhawks, and you talk about a migraine headache of a season. After starting 5-0 and ranked in the top 20, Kansas just simply fell off the cliff, losing 7 straight games, and then probably the most stinging loss of all, losing on the final play of the game to their arch rivals, Missouri. And for Mark Mangino, some poor coaching down the stretch with his team with the lead and the ball with 2 minutes to go, and Kansas decides to throw the ball on first and second down, incomplete both times, hardly any time runs off the clock. They would eventually give up a safety, have to free kick it to Missouri. Missouri drove it downfield, and then on the final play of the game, Missouri breaks Kansas's heart with a field goal to win it. So Kansas at 5-7, they're out of bowl contention, and the Iowa State Cyclones, they will be the 8th team from the Big 12 to go to a bowl game. So we'll find out what Mangino's future is like as well. He hasn't been fired yet, and I think that's because Kansas is investigating all those allegations of the verbal abuse as far as what Mangino has done in the past, verbally abusing his players while grabbing them. Those are the allegations. I'm sure Kansas wants to gather as much data as possible before giving him the boot. So for Mangino, it's a pretty sad ending, and it's really terrible because Kansas under Mangino started off so well, and now they're in the toilet. At number 10, the Colorado Buffaloes. Dan Hawkins should have been fired, but isn't, and it's all because of money. You see, Hawkins still has $3 million left on his contract. That's how much money he would have received if Colorado had fired him. Colorado then would have had to turn around and hired a brand new coach and probably paid him a lot of money. Colorado's athletic budget is not like Notre Dame's, Oklahoma's, or Texas's, where they can afford to just fire a high-paying head coach and bring somebody else in and pay them a lot of money. At Colorado, it's not like that. I believe that's the only reason why Hawkins will be back to coach the Buffaloes in 2010. A nightmarish of a season for the Buffaloes, and it ends with the loss the day after Thanksgiving to Nebraska. At number 9, I'm going to go Kansas State. They didn't play this last week. We already knew that they weren't going to a bowl game. And because the team that I have number 8 in the poll is going to a bowl game, that's why I've got Iowa State ahead of Kansas State, even though I know Kansas State beat Iowa State by 1 point earlier in the year. It's this simple. K-State's not going to a bowl game. The Iowa State Cyclones, because of that Kansas loss, Iowa State's going to go. I don't believe that the Big 12 would have gotten 9 teams to a bowl game if Kansas had won that game. But because of Kansas' loss, they're not bowl eligible. Iowa State still is bowl eligible, despite not playing this past week. I believe Iowa State is going to get an invite to the Independence Bowl, and they will play an SEC school. That's what 2 of my 3 projections have. I think mysanantonio.com has Iowa State actually going to the Texas Bowl, but most of the projections I see have the Cyclones going to Shreveport. At number 7, the Texas A&M Aggies. And I tell you what, other than the game at Texas Tech, I was more impressed with Texas A&M in this game than any of the victories they had this season. It was a loss against Texas, but A&M was a heavy underdog. And you know what? Gerard Johnson and the Aggies put a big scare into Texas. And they did something that no other team has done against Texas, and that's put a lot of points on the board. And they had to make Texas fight like crazy in the end to win that game. Texas A&M lost by 10 points, and A&M still made mistakes. They threw an interception in the end zone. They missed a short field goal, and they give up a long kickoff return when it was just a 3-point game with 6 minutes to go. But still a good effort by A&M, and Aggie fans, you're going to go to a bowl game, probably the Texas Bowl, to play Navy. And the future does look good because, for the most part, the team's young, and you return that outstanding quarterback, Gerard Johnson. He's a speedster, and he has a good arm, too. Let's move now to number 6 in the Missouri Tigers and what had to have been the game of the year in the Big 12. Just like I thought Mangino's coaching down the stretch was poor, I thought Gary Pinkel's coaching down the stretch was excellent. With his team down 3 points in the ball near midfield on 4th and short, Pinkel relied on his defense despite it being a high-scoring game and punted it. And as a result, that's when Mangino made the boneheaded mistake of trying to throw the ball instead of running it. When Missouri got the ball back, Pinkel knew that his team was moving it down the field. They took their sweet time, though, and they let the clock run down as much as possible to not give Kansas another chance. And Missouri kicks a field goal at the end. It looks like Missouri is going to go to the Inside.com Bowl in Phoenix, and they'll probably play Minnesota. Let's move to number 5 in the Oklahoma Sooners. Yes, it's been an up-and-down season for the boys from Norman. The injury-plagued Sooners, though, probably played their best game of the season. Definitely on defense they did, as they stunned Oklahoma State 27-0. That's right, a shutout. First time anybody shut the Cowboys out in 4 seasons. 30 wins in a row at home for Oklahoma. And it looks like the Sooners, all projections I've seen, they're going to go to the Sun Bowl. And it looks like it'll be California. We thought maybe it'd be an Oklahoma-USC showdown, but it looks like the Holiday Bowl is going to get USC. They get the first pick. They get a higher pick over the Sun Bowl. So it looks like it will be Cal, the Golden Bears, against Oklahoma on New Year's Eve in El Paso. We're going to keep it at number 3 at a tie between Texas Tech and Nebraska for the second straight week. Both teams did what they had to do to win, although it wasn't pretty. Nebraska gets the road win at Colorado, and Texas Tech in Arlington gets the victory over Baylor, needing to come from behind. But both teams are going to go to nice bowl games. Texas Tech, it looks like they're going to go to the Alamo Bowl, and it looks like they're going to play Michigan State. Nebraska, it looks like they're going to go to the Holiday Bowl and play USC. Now, of course, if Nebraska should somehow upset Texas, that will change everything because Nebraska then would go to a BCS Bowl. But if things play out the way that they should, Nebraska will go to the Holiday Bowl, and still, that's a pretty good bowl for Bo Pelini's squad in Lincoln. And for Texas Tech, they'll get a lot of fans from Lubbock to San Antonio. At number 2, I'm going to keep Oklahoma State at number 2 despite the bad performance. I believe that the Cowboys, if you look at their record overall at 9-3 and look at their record 6-2 in conference play, they still deserve to be at number 2. Their only 2 conference losses came to Texas, who might play for the national championship, and the other loss came at Oklahoma, and Oklahoma hasn't lost at home in 4 seasons. But still a surprising, lackluster effort by the Cowboys in Norman this past Saturday. They were a little injury-riddled with Zach Robinson, but still, they looked like they played a little too conservative and came out maybe a little bit flat. Give credit to Oklahoma, but also Oklahoma State. They'll know that they'll have to play better, and it looks like the Cowboys are going to go to the Cotton Bowl on January 2nd. Probably will play either Tennessee or Mississippi. It looks like LSU is going to go to the Capital One Bowl, so that would end any discussion of a Les Miles versus OSU showdown, and that's too bad because I really wanted to see that. And clearly number 1, until proven otherwise in the Big 12, the Texas Longhorns, and they needed everything to beat Texas A&M, and Colt McCoy might have solidified the Heisman Trophy. A big night rushing for the senior quarterback, rushed for over 170 yards, and he also had a big day throwing the football. Right now, McCoy is the front runner in the Heisman race. And speaking of Texas, let's go ahead and highlight the Big 12 championship game. It's this Saturday. Texas, a huge favorite to knock off the Nebraska Cornhuskers, the champions of the North Division. Now, this will be one of the best defenses that Texas has faced all season long, and as we saw in the Red River shootout between them and Oklahoma, the Sooners' defense made life tough for Texas. It was just a 16-13 game. Nebraska's defense is just as good, and I think that it will be a ball game all the way up to the 4th quarter. What I think hurts Nebraska, though, will be quarterback play. Zach Lee has not impressed me all season long as a quarterback, and if Nebraska had a throwing attack, I'd feel really good about their chances, but they don't. They've got Roy Halou Jr., the running back, and that's all they have. And I believe this will be a close game until the 4th quarter because of the Nebraska defense. I think they will make life tough for Texas. But in the end, I think Texas will have the time of possession advantage, and that will enable them to control the clock and eventually wear that Nebraska defense down. Nebraska's defense is very good, but they will wear down just like any other defense if they're on the field for 34 or 35 minutes. Nebraska cannot afford 3-and-outs or turnovers. If that happens, that plays right into Texas's favor. And I think Texas, with their experience and their overall talent, will win the game 24-7. I've got Texas winning by 17, and them going to the national championship game against either Florida or Alabama. So that will wrap it up. It's been my pleasure to bring you the Big 12 rankings. Our next show will come up in just a few weeks. It will be the history of the bowl game that Oklahoma will be playing in, and the next episode will be the bowl matchup show between Oklahoma and their opponent. And then we'll wrap up the season with the post-game show the day of or the day after the bowl game. So long for now. We'll talk to you later.